Hello, hello, hello. That's a show. We're back, and we have what I think will be another fantastic interview.
hmm
Steve, the
I'm
Eating
excited.
Machine, my partner, who's already jumped in because he's so excited.
I can't wait.
um, we reached out to our guest, and in light of what's been happening the last week since the release of the UFO files by the Trump administration, the timing couldn't be more perfect. So, joining us, the host of the UAP Files podcast, also the creator of the Vector Point HQ app, which we'll get into a little bit more later. Jimmy, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, and I really appreciate the invitation. It's good to be here.
Oh, no, thanks for coming. I've been waiting. I couldn't sleep last night. I was telling Tony all these
Uh,
questions were going through my mind and just like what to
I
ask
d-
you. Yeah,
I'm
what to talk
definitely not
about.
going to live up to that, so I
No,
apologize.
so my dreams won't come true. It's okay. So I don't know. Like, do you want me to start with like how I got into UFOs and my obsession with UAPs and
Yeah,
everything? You
yeah,
want to
I'd
hear
love to.
that, or do you? I mean,
Yeah.
it's always
I,
the guest first, but
No, I'm interested. I mean, I'm comfortable asking lots of questions, so
okay, yeah, that's what I mean.
that's my
Yeah.
wheelhouse. I ask a question and I just disappear for half an hour. It's great, but no, I am interested. That's the main thing that I'm interested in. Is that there's two things: is psychology and engineering, and the
Mhm.
psychology around people that have sightings and believe in things, and people that absolutely don't believe in things and that they just can't accept things. Those two things really interest me, or those three things, I guess, and also the nuts and bolts of whatever these things are that we're seeing and experiencing.
Exactly.
So I'm fascinated by other people's sort of entry into the subject.
well, yeah, and this is kind of what you do, right? Is you listen. You listen to what people experience, and that's why it's intriguing for us because we're pretty opposite
hmm
when it comes to the UFO subject. I'm not that I don't believe it. I'm just not. I don't pay enough attention to it. I have a heck of a lot more over the last week since all the news came out, and the fact that we were interviewing we wanted to find, just try and pay a little more attention to it. So that's the dynamic here, and that's why I was very interested in getting into this topic. And Steve, you've got some memories, right? You have some experiences that you've gone through.
I was always into sci-fi growing up as a kid, watching Close Encounters and ET and all that stuff. Once I got into that, I just forgot about it. I didn't even pay attention to aliens until like I moved to Cyprus, and even in Cyprus, there's no news and no one talks about UFOs or aliens. It's not a thing that they talk about. But in school, all the Brits would bring the British newspapers and then would show me articles about like UFOs and alien sightings, like the ones in Russia in the schoolyard, and I think it was '88 or '89, and the other one was the '94 aerial school incident in Zimbabwe, which that one is like still to this day my favorite.
Yeah, great case.
Oh, great! The best case, and even the documentary, the most recent one too, was so interesting, and I can't get enough of that one. Um, and then again, so after that, again, I never paid attention, never even thought about it. And then I moved back to Canada, and my uncle, like, he was obsessed, and he got me really into it because he had the Time Life books that I would read over and over again about aliens and UFOs. And then he would start taking me to these conventions, like these alien and UFO conventions, and again, that's when I really got hooked because every time I go to my uncle's house, that's all he would talk about, and that's his religion. He says he doesn't believe in, like, he still thinks that he thinks Jesus is an alien. So
Yeah.
if that's what you believe, but that's so every time I go there, he's preaching that. So as a
That's it. I mean,
child,
as you were talking, I'm just thinking like you have way more in depth kind of experience, certainly from a younger age into the subject. Because I was very late. I
mhm,
mean, much like a lot of other people, they have a vague interest in sci-fi stuff when they're a kid, and you watch ET, and then perhaps the X-Files, stuff like that.
yeah,
But I didn't, I didn't. That's kind of where it stopped, and then I moved into the real world and responsibilities and being a
yeah,
parent, all
hmm
that sort of stuff. And I guess it was probably I was aware of the New York Times article that came out in 2017. The Ralph Blumenthal and Helena, I forget her surname
oh
is
yeah,
Terry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
that was a good one.
and there's another. I always butcher it because my memory, my recall of names and stuff is terrible. And I know exactly who it is, and
Yeah,
if I can Google it, I'll be fine. But unfortunately, when you're doing,
No, I
when
know
you,
what you mean. I'm the same way.
but anyway, so that happened, and I had sort of, I think, vague awareness of it at the time, but it didn't have the same impact on me that I think it has with a lot of other people that I've spoken to. That's what reignited their interest in the subject. For me, it's kind of, I was aware of it, I took it in, but I carried on with my life, didn't dive too deep into it. And then I think we had COVID that came along, and we were spending a lot more time indoors,
Yeah.
and we were spending a lot more time on the internet. And it just so happened that David Grush had come out at that point. I think he did his News Nation interview with Ross Coulthart, and then we had the congressional hearing,
Yep.
and so for the first time ever, we had somebody who was, he was preparing presidential briefings. He was a high level intel officer that had, access to all of the information, and he's standing there in Congress with his hand up, swearing on the under the oath that what he's about to say is the truth, and then just giving us this fantastic, amazing, incredible information. And at that point, I'm thinking, well, I need to know everything that there is to know about this. And either he is one of the best, con artists out there who's about to put his entire reputation on the line, or there's some element of truth to it. But because of what he's saying, we should be able to pick it apart and find out if it's credible or not. And that's what ignited my interest. I was like, okay, well, I need to know everything about this. I need to investigate it. And then I was back in, absolutely back in. And then just a quick kind of summary of how I got into sort of having my face on camera and stuff. As I was looking into things and sort of researching, I started an Instagram account to post things. And for me, it was more for my own memory, so I didn't lose things, so I could post things in it. And there wasn't a community. I had no followers or anything like that. But it was just something for me. And I did that I used to do woodworking, and I put my stuff on there. I wasn't trying to like build a community or anything. It was a place to document what I was doing. And then really quickly, it started to grow to thousands. And then I sort of noticed some really interesting people started following the account. I was like, oh, wow, I could send this person a message because they followed me.
I was one of them.
Joe Rogan.
I'm not interesting, but yeah, I was one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, some real incredible people that I, watch on TV, or I listen to their music, or their sports people
That's
that
crazy.
I watch.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to a few people and like, thanks so much for following the account. And have you had a, UFO experience? What interested you? So I started asking them questions behind the scenes, and they were really open about it, really interested in the subject. And I thought, I started watching podcasts. I was watching that UFO podcast with Andy. I think it's McGrillen, Scottish guy. Him and Dan Zetterstrom, who one of the sort of earliest podcasts I listened to, along with Vinnie Adams. Sort of British guys there, and of course you've got the Americans who, very famous podcasts that have been going for years and years. And I got into that, and I was like, maybe I could interview some of these people, and then share that, and that's kind of how the podcast started, and sort of just grew and grew, and it was just a place for me to express my thoughts, my research, and just get interesting people that I fancy talking to on camera, and it hasn't stopped really. And I love it.
No,
I love it because that comes into that psychology side of things. I'm really interested in people. And this is sort of a way of finding out about them with a shared interest, So yeah, that's where I am at the moment. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble there.
no, that's fine. No, that's great. It's interesting because I remember sending you video. I mean, you probably got sent a million files. But I remember sending you a couple of videos of those orbs that were going around. I think it was just after COVID, and then the Canadian government shot one down, but they never explained to anyone what it was. They said it might be a Chinese weather balloon or something.
Yeah.
I remember sending you that video of that orb because I was driving home with my wife. We took the kids somewhere to a birthday party. We're driving back, and I see it like this huge metallic orb just floating next to a building on the way. And I told my wife, I stopped the car. I'm like, what is that? She was like, still in disbelief. She didn't believe like it's a UFO. I'm like, what else can it be? And not only that, like it's facing where the nuclear power plant is. So I'm like, that's what they were doing. They were hovering around, right? Like either military bases or nuclear power plants, and that's where this one was. So then again, when you're in that moment too, I didn't even think to take out my phone to like videotape it. I just was in the moment. And
Yeah.
then I messaged my friend because he's into UFOs, and I told him the story. He goes, "I got video," and his neighbor took it. They were outside just hanging out, and they saw the same thing, but there was like three of them, three orbs. But I wish I had like your app back then. You know what I mean? To
Yeah, that would have been cool. Me too. Me too.
you know what I mean? Because
We could have triangulated this stuff.
yeah, that would have
Yeah.
been fantastic, like to use that back then. But
Yeah.
Well, that's a great segue. Talk to us about your app a little bit, and how'd you think about it and put it to use?
Well, I'd love to take all the credit for it, but really it was, I mean, I'd been thinking about an app for a long time, or at least a website, somewhere to collate everything. And here's the problem at the moment, a lot of what we know is based on AI, and people more and more now are using artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok to answer questions that they have. And those large language models are generally created or curated by Wikipedia and open source information that they consider to be credible sources, and that tends to be things that are very much sort of slanted towards UFOs are ridiculous, aliens don't exist, there's no evidence for them. So because of that, a lot of the information people get just sort of almost dismisses the subject outright. And what I was thinking of was, what if we had a place where all of the data that could be collected, and then we could have some kind of system built in where you could then search that, and you wouldn't have any of these issues with people that just adamantly disbelieve anything to do with UFOs. None of the evidence is credible, and therefore that's the evidence that's going to be pushed into the AI. And it just so happened that at the time, well, let me rewind slightly. I'd reached out to a couple of people about creating something like some kind of variation of what we have now. And they came back and said, look, it's going to cost X amount of money. It's going to be super expensive. And I thought, well, I can't afford that. And I couldn't sort of crowdsource the community for a huge chunk of money and not be able to guarantee that it would be worth it at the end. And then out of nowhere, my friend, I didn't know him at the time, but he's a good friend now, Nathan Cole, who's an app developer, just happens to come along and says, look, I've been thinking of doing this thing, this idea. What do you think? And I'm thinking, you know, the stars have aligned, because I want to do something like that. And I've got loads of ideas and a platform in order to sort of promote it with exact target demographic of people that could help us build. And you've got the skills to do it. And he had some fantastic ideas as well. So for the last, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months or something, we've been talking, he's been building, and almost every night we've just, you know, talked about how we can improve it, what would look better, how we could, you know, really accelerate the data collection and just make it really useful. And that's what Vector Point is. So it started off as a website. It's currently in website form as well. So UAPFilesLive.com is the website. Okay. And then the app is obviously the app version of that, which is, there's more functionality with the app than there is with the website. And it's just Vector Point. Vector Point HQ is just the Instagram account.
Like you said, like there's a lot of AI out there that's, you don't know what's real, what's not. So this will actually break it down. You could just put it into the app.
So it's a few different things. So there's different. So the heart of it is data. So we've taken every UFO sighting, UAP sighting that we can get our hands on across all of history and all of the world. And as an example, the largest database before we came along was Newfork, which had roughly 180,000 sightings that they'd mapped and sort of ingested into their system. And we've got 1.3 million. So we are.
And even Cyprus, which was crazy.
Yeah.
I never knew. Like, it's so helpful. Like, I went into Cyprus and I could find, which were mostly expats and Brits that were, I guess, that's where the sightings were from. Because Cypriots, I don't know. The locals, they just look down. And they just all about religion, and they don't care about anything else, right? Nothing else exists, right? Yeah. So they're not open-minded. But with your app, like, I found out like a ton I did not know all these sightings were happening in Cyprus, right? So
Yeah, well, and that's
pretty
the
helpful.
thing. It's very American centric at the moment, and it has been for a long time. Where you look for any data and you'll just hear about
U.S.
Roswell, and it's
Yeah,
all USA related, and what this
yeah,
congressman says and what this whistleblower says. And really, you need, we know that there's sightings everywhere. I've interviewed people from China that say we've got a rich history of
yeah.
UFO sightings. It's like, okay, where is it? And then I interviewed an Indonesian presidential advisor who said, "Oh yeah, we had a crash flying saucer
Really?
in
Wow.
1997. We gifted it to the CIA." I'm like, how did I not know about this? So there's a rich history across the world, but it's just a case of getting everything together.
Hmm.
And what the app does is you've got a map that is very interactive and it plots everything across the globe. And you can click on that, you can zoom in, you can go into dark mode, which then allows you to go into 3D mode. So you can kind of see where the buildings would have been in 3D mode. We overlay things like meteors, aircraft flying around, satellites in real time. So as you're looking at the map, the satellites are moving. We've got rocket launches that will, also even things that are plotted today. I think was the most recent update where the sightings on the moon have
Yeah,
been plotted. So we've now got like a moon that's been
that's
plotted as well with all
yeah,
those.
which is great. You know,
So
so
yeah, I mean, it helps people that if you think, look, it could have been the ISS or it could have been Starlink or an aeroplane, then you want to put it in there. It will help you with what's in the area at the time. What some of the other apps do is say, well, because there was a Starlink somewhere in that area at the time,
mhm.
it was Starlink. And that's not scientific because there are thousands of objects in the sky. So to just say, well, that's a bit near it, so that's what it is, I think is quite dangerous and not very helpful for scientific discovery of the unknown. What is helpful is to try and take as much data as possible, including the eyewitness experience and what they physically saw. And so you can go into the map you can go into there's a function where you can take a video or a photo from within the app and it will collect a data package of exactly what you saw, what the camera saw, like the
Yeah.
the settings of the camera, and your location. Then you can put some information in, but then you can plot it on the map in 3D. So if you're imagine Google Street View, where you're literally on the street, you look up and it's, let's say you saw an orb and it was between two roof pitches. You can plot it between those two roof pitches. So then when you've got real-time flight data going over, you can see, okay, well, there was an aeroplane there, but it wasn't between those two roof pitches.
No, it's too low, right?
Yeah,
Or two guys with a string.
yeah, exactly.
You know what
So
I mean?
it's way more useful than I think anything else that exists out there.
Mhm.
And there's a few out there that are quite heavily funded, allegedly, by intelligence community people that just want to collect data. And for us, we're full transparency. There's no hidden
Yeah, you
fight.
don't want like you said before, like you don't want you're making our own investigation, the
Yeah.
people, not the government.
Exactly, because they're not going to share stuff with us, so we need to do it ourselves. It needs to be citizen science. I mean, we saw that from the latest release from the Trump
Exactly.
releases.
Drone
Like
game.
half of that stuff we've had already.
Hmm.
The rest of the stuff is not very compelling. Like maybe there's one or two videos that are really interesting, but they might end up being something
Yeah, because
prosaic.
George Knapp said, and like Corbell, they said that there's actual 4K and 8K footage and that they've
Yeah,
seen.
yeah. Well, apparently so, and that's the stuff we want to see.
And they
That's
really keep releasing like this VHS quality,
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got like 4K footage of a flying saucer landing on the White House lawn, but here's a photo or a video of a balloon over the ocean
exactly. It's so
from
weird.
10 miles away in a
I
Reaper
guess
drone.
I get what they're doing, trying to protect us,
Well,
quotations.
it's going to get to the next question I had actually. Like, is there pushback with what you're doing? Do you get any kind of messages that, hey, lay off, or is it totally cool? Like, what's happening?
No.
I always picture some secret agency
Men
in the
in Black.
background there,
The
yeah,
Men in
saying,
Black
you know
coming.
what, you're pushing too hard, kid. Give
Yeah.
it a break, give it a rest for whatever reason. I'm just curious, do you experience any pushback at all?
No, we haven't yet. I mean, you get debunkers and people that want to
Right.
control the software that helps to debunk things. And then when you create software that actually helps create the best data or capture the best data, and I find there's a particular couple of debunkers, let's call them, who have suggested you should do this and you should do that and you should do this, and think, yeah, but then that wouldn't have the human sighting and their experience. Oh, yeah, but that's not very useful. Like, okay, so you just want to say there was a Starlink in the sky at the time, therefore it's Starlink, even though the person said it wasn't going in that direction, it was going in the other direction. So it's like they're arguing over we can't trust humans, and we're saying, well, let's take all of the data, including the human data. So from a debunker perspective, we get a bit of pushback because we're not going to be very helpful to them. But in terms of like the intelligence community, I haven't had anything yet. And we've got a very, very secure. I mean, Nathan is a genius. Genuinely, he is Rain Man of the apps. Like, you don't get any better than
Yeah.
him. And I'm very lucky to be working with him, and to be co-founder with him, because he's made it the most secure app out there
Yeah.
for
It's not
people's
like,
data.
but it's not like Bob Lazar thing where they're going to come in like, hey, your wife is cheating on you, and this is it. Like try to create these lies against you, right? Just to bring you down.
Well, look, if something like that happens, just remember this
Yeah,
conversation.
exactly. Remember this
Right.
conversation we have it here.
Exactly. And all of a sudden, no, I mean, I think that they're probably a bit more stealthy than that these days. I think
Yeah,
if they
it's
were going to
different.
do something, it would probably be, right, what's working for these guys? Let's just copy that and let's do something that can sort of take over, rather than just going and cutting their brake cables or something. Fingers crossed anyway. But it's early days. I mean, we only launched last week.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens. At the moment, we're small, and we've not really done much promotion for it at all. But we'll see what happens when it starts to get bigger, which it will, because
Oh well,
our,
for
our
sure.
intention is to make it the everything app for ufology, really. Just data science, um, everything, sightings, video footage, everything. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know
So
we're
what
not I know we're not experts, but what do you believe that these UAPs, UFOs, aliens are from? Do you believe, again, extraterrestrial, like interdimensional? I think the underwater thing is the most realistic too. That they were here before us. There was a more intelligent civilization who built the pyramids, who built built the Parthenon and all that. Because when you look at that stuff now, it's like incredible what they built and how everything was so accurate, and even the statues were so symmetrical. And you're telling me they did this with like a hammer and a chisel? There's no way. There must have been another intelligent civilization that has come and gone and is somewhere either in another dimension or under the waters or somewhere. Is that what you like? What do you believe?
That's really interesting. I mean, I find the pyramids fascinating, and how they're able to do some of those things. Some of the stone was from, so far away, and how could they do that without heavy machinery? It seems near impossible to do any of that stuff. So I'm fascinated by that as well. But one thing I say quite often when I'm asked this question is, the more that I research this subject, the more confused I become, because when you start
Yeah,
off with ET, it's really easy, because you can get your head around
yeah,
something that's more advanced than us by, let's say, even 100 years, but let's say 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years. You can completely get your head around the idea
because we know
that,
that, right? They pump that into it, like
yeah,
movies and TV shows. That was like the
exactly.
norm.
Yeah, exactly. And it's easy to understand, because we've got all of that from Hollywood, and and also we understand how technology works now. You can fly somewhere, and the rockets are getting a bit better, and they're getting a bit better. Now we've got the Starship from
Mhm.
SpaceX. That's better than the old ones. So eventually, in 100 years, we're gonna have some really cool stuff. So you can get your head around someone coming from really far away and coming here and messing around a little bit, doing some reconnaissance, and then going off again.
Yeah, like the robots that we're creating now with AI, like the
Yeah,
Tesla robots. Those
exactly.
those grays can be that just traveling in space, and you know,
Absolutely. Yeah, and,
and
and we
just
have we have that already. We have probes that are on Mars right
yeah,
now. We've got a
exactly.
drone flying around an alien, a planet right this second as we speak. So you can get your head around that. But the more I researched the subject, the more people I spoke to, the more rabbit holes they were sending me off in a totally different direction. I have other people saying, "Yeah, but I had this sort of interdimensional kind of experience," and other people that would say, I think it's like a human race. that's that's long lost and perhaps is like time travel, or has come back but doesn't want to interfere. And
It's
then,
too out there. Yeah, it's
like
too out
there's
there.
so many
Yeah.
different concepts that there's a little bit of interesting information in that person's perspective on that, and then that ties in with all these other things that I've researched, and that makes sense there. So then that sends me off in that direction, but then you hit roadblocks. So I've gone from like interdimensional to extraterrestrial to time travelers to ancient civilizations to
To
simulation.
demons.
Yeah, and then okay, what does this phenomena explain ghosts? Does it explain people that are having experiences where they see grandparents, when they go down for
Yeah.
a glass of water in the nighttime? Like, would that explain that? Does it explain religious texts and the Bible? And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What I can say, and what the conclusion that I have come to is that whatever it is sentient, it is very, very intelligent. There is some element of nuts and bolts technology, just based on the broad collection of data, because everybody can't be lying. Everybody can't be lying, and there's so many connections between people in different parts of the world, different social economic backgrounds, different age groups,
Yeah.
but yet they're seeing the same things, they're having the same experiences. And so that's data, that's evidence to me. It might not be proof, it may not be beyond all reasonable doubt proof, but it's evidence.
Now it's all this stuff is coming out, but I feel like people don't care anymore. Like are not interested. Is it because it's coming from the government? It's coming from a Trump saying that they're just had enough of.
I don't think so, man. I'll push back on that a little bit, because I think people are more interested than they have ever been, just from my experience. Because if you go back 5 years before Grush came out, but I suppose that was after the New York Times article, but before Grush, I didn't know a single person that was interested in this subject. Of all of my friends, all of my family, all of my colleagues at work, I didn't speak to anybody about this subject at all. I didn't see anything in the media. I didn't see any of the podcasts really, because I wasn't getting into them at that point. Nothing on the news, nothing on Twitter at the time, nothing. And now, and I appreciate my algorithm's going to be different on social media, but all of my friends are talking about it. My family are talking about it. My colleagues are talking about it, and I'm seeing it in the news. I'm seeing it on the radio. I mean, a lot of it is America. There's not so much in Europe, in the UK especially, but we are getting bits and pieces. We're stuff on the BBC, which is a very, I guess, respected. I know it's not everywhere in the world, but a respected news organization or media organization who, generally speaking, are relatively kind of in the middle. And they're talking about UFOs. They're covering a lot of stuff that's happening in America, but like it's a much bigger deal than it was 5 years ago, and a much, much bigger deal than it was 10 years ago before the New York Times article.
True, I get that. But when I tell my wife, she doesn't care.
I think you kind of, I
She
think
doesn't
you,
believe it.
I think you kind of answered it without answering it. Really, it's social media, right? I mean, that exposure, everything is out there, and everybody's on their phones, glued to whatever. And if it ends up on, I've had more stuff on UFOs on my algorithms in the last pop up on my timelines in the last 7 days since we started talking about this, seeing more about this, preparing for this interview. And so it just naturally, it's going to go into people's heads and people's minds, and that's where we are. So I agree with you. I think there is a hell of a lot more interest than there was maybe just as
I mean, there was, like
few
you said,
back
social
as
media.
5 years ago.
But I'm saying I had to go, I had to listen to Coast on the radio. I
Right.
had to go to conventions. I had to, buy Time Life or read my uncle's Time Life books like it was pornography for me. You know what I mean? So it was like, but that's what I had to do. But you're right. Now it's social media, so it's easier. It's out there.
Yeah. But it's also more happening. I mean, if you go back 10 years, we weren't having multiple congressional hearings with multiple credible people all saying the same thing. Pilots, aviators that are serious people.
Right.
Commander David Fravor, a Top Gun pilot, swearing under oath that he's chasing, having a dogfight essentially with a Tic Tac shaped UFO.
Yeah.
We've got the film Age of Disclosure with, I don't know, was it like 30, 40 people or something that were all died as intel people, people classified information. Just multiple whistleblowers, Elizondo.
Well, Bob Lazar, for me, is like top.
Yeah. And so that there's a lot of people all coming at once and a lot of things going on. TV shows, films, documentaries, whistleblowers coming forward, lots and lots of them, almost every day, it feels like. And I mean, we've got the Spielberg film coming
Yeah, I
out
can't
like
wait. Yeah.
very, very soon.
Yeah.
And he's out there saying for the first time ever, bear in mind, this guy's been interested in UFOs for many years.
Yeah.
And he says in an interview, I have a strong suspicion that they are among us, or words to that effect, like that they're here.
He
you know.
knows something.
Right.
He
Of
knows
course
something.
he does. Of course he does.
The elite. He knows.
Yeah, he's mingling with all the top level people.
They must be talking
Want to
about
be
it all the
friends
time.
with him, don't they? They want to be friends with him, and what can they offer him?
Yeah,
Well,
I think this will be
it's
more
like-
that film will be more of a documentary, right? I think. Than,
I think.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I hope so. I think people think that way. I hope so. He has given the indication that I think he believes this is as close to what he suspects is going on. So, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
That should
but
be
that's a
fun.
lot.
Final question for you. Where do you see us, say, 5 years from now with all this? Like, how do you see it playing out?
I think that we will. I don't think we'll have formal disclosure from like a Donald Trump coming out, standing in front of everybody and saying, "Guys, I've got to tell you something. We're not alone. This is official." I don't think that's going to happen.
So no Project Blue Book or like
No,
just
I
to keep
don't.
us keep us at home.
No, I don't. I don't see that happening. I think that we're going to have a rollout of information, and we'll probably get enough information that will keep us going for a while.
True.
So this new release, there's supposedly 46 videos that are way more interesting and compelling than what's been released already.
That's what
We'll
they're
see
saying.
what-
Yeah, we'll
yeah,
see.
we'll see what comes of that. So I think that'll keep us going for a while. I think we're just going to see citizens take control of it, because I don't think we can rely on the government or the intelligence community to come out and tell us. And I'll be honest, I don't really think it's their job. And I don't it annoys me that they may have information that feels like it should be criminal to keep secret.
Yep.
Equally, their job is like protect the nation. It's to be militarily superior to other nations. So I understand that if we understand some technology that if it gets into the wrong hands could just destroy the entire nation. I get that. So maybe you wouldn't want to go, well, here's how it all works.
Yeah.
In the same way that you've just developed a nuclear bomb, you probably don't want your foreign adversary to also have that, technology. So maybe just keep it aside.
That part I get.
But I think that we have a duty to, as humanity, or sorry, as a civilization, to try and help humanity along the way in evolution, and that if that brings people together by saying, look, we're not the most important thing in the universe, and actually there's a higher intelligence out there, and we could probably come together and stop all these wars, and we can try and focus on helping each other and fixing ourselves, fixing energy. And yeah, I think that would be a benefit and a positive. And one thing I do find with people that are interested in this subject is they become very spiritual, and I don't say that in a negative way, because I think a lot of people attribute negativity to like a cult of some religion, but I think it's more being at one with yourself and having a connection with your community, and that's something that this subject does. It connects people, it gets people to really go out there and look up at the sky and think about nature, and that's a really good thing.
That's what you gotta do. Look up to the sky.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's raised my level of awareness a little bit more, so I'm looking forward to it. Jimmy, thank you very much for joining us. Very enlightening interview, and we'll be on this a hell of a lot more now because it's out there more, like you said. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. Anytime, guys. Thanks very much.
All right, take care, huh?